It's time for Football at 4 with 97.3 ESPN.com's Andrew DiCecco.
My first allegiance is what will be best for the Philadelphia Eagles and our fans for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelyle.com or call 856-MAKEOVER for Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4. This hour of the show is brought to you by Prop Swap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets, take your profit. Find out how at PropSwap.com or download the Prop Swap app today. Andrew DiCecco set to join us for today's version of Football at 4. A lot of draft conversation with him. You know, Mel Kiper just did his latest mock draft, and I guess it will make some excited and others not so excited that the Eagles in that draft, mock draft anyway, taking LSU wide receiver JaMarr Chase is the pick for him. A lot of people have them taking Kyle Pitts. The problem with taking Kyle Pitts in this particular draft for Mel Kiper Jr. is that he's got Pitts going the pick ahead of the Eagles. So for all the people out there who said he's not going to go that high, most of these mock drafts now have Pitts not getting to the Eagles at number 6. So let's bring Andrew into the conversation. And we're trying to catch up with Andrew, by the way. I think we got him on the horn here. And get some draft thoughts from him. We are 1 month out, a little bit over a month, about a month and a few days set to go before this NFL draft is ready to go. As we just told you, Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline as we are about a month out, Andrew, NFL draft. What's good, man?
I'm doing well, Mike. Just digesting all this NFL news, just like everyone else. But how are you?
I'm doing good. I want to get your take because we missed you on Thursday's show to get your take. Actually, it happened over the weekend, so you wouldn't have been able to talk about it anyway. How Anthony Harris fits into this team, and did you think Howie Roseman should be given some good marks for a shrewd move there?
Yeah, well, it is a shrewd move. And going back a little bit further, I actually had a chance to speak to Anthony Smith. I went to Virginia's Pro Day for Juan Thornhill and see him perform. And Tim Harris was also competing in that Pro Day as well, auditioning for a lot of NFL personnel. So I ended up just chatting with Anthony as we're walking out of the building. I'm asking him about Andrew Sadejo because they had just signed him, of course, and they were teammates with Minnesota. And I just got a chance to kind of get inside of Anthony's mind about playing safety in the NFL. He's a very sharp-minded guy, fundamentally sound. He knows everyone's assignment, and that was very evident just from talking to him. So I kind of followed his career over the past couple of years, and I thought that was a tremendous value signing from Howie Roseman. Obviously cashed in the season before with a big year with turnovers and everything like that. Didn't really have much of an impact last season as far as being that ball-hawking safety that we had grown accustomed to seeing. But he was very sound in coverage. Teams weren't really testing him. I think he's going to thrive as a single high safety here. He can track the deep ball well. He's just a fundamentally sound player, and that's a great pairing, great guy to get on that defense. And I think that he's going to thrive with Jonathan Gannon as his coach.
Yeah, you mentioned a great pairing. I mean, you put him and Rodney McLeod back there. That's a better pairing, I would imagine, than him and Mills.
Absolutely, and that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, okay, you lost Jalen Mills, but do you have a better alternative? And they have a better safety tandem now than when they started free agency. So I think that's a win for the Eagles. And Anthony Harris is certainly no slouch. He's a playmaking safety, still young. And I think that he still offers some potential that hasn't been quite tapped into yet. So I'm interested to see what Jonathan Gannon, who has that defensive back acumen, can really get out of him.
Yeah, and I guess one question would be, all right, you're saying he's a playmaking safety, no slouch. He's the highest rated safety from PFF since 2018. Many people suggested he had a down year last year. Why is he available on a 1-year, $5 million deal?
because it's starting to look like the 2019 season was the outlier of his career. But that was certainly no fluke. He had a down year, yes, and there's going to be certain teams that are going to be turned off from that because they're going to think, well, was that year an aberration, or is that more of an indication of just someone that's coming off of a down season and is going to rebound? And I think that he's going to rebound because he showed so much during that 2019 season from a range and ability to fill the alleys and make tackles against the run, just a very all-around safety. For me to think that was a fluke, that certainly wasn't the case. I think that he's going to be the player more so than what we saw in the 2019 season with the Minnesota Vikings than what we saw last season. And I do think that obviously pairing with Jonathan Gannon, who has that defensive background, he's going to get the most out of him. And playing opposite a veteran safety like Rodney McLeod is certainly going to bring the best out of Anthony.
And how much, Andrew, was Anthony Harris's down year due to the fact that the Vikings defense had a down year in terms of pass rush? He was very good when they had a good pass rush. He wasn't so good when they didn't have a good pass rush. I think that's the story of a lot of guys. The Eagles have a better pass rush, we hope anyway, than Minnesota does.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point by saying that the Eagles really need to upgrade their pass rush because a good pass rush, Mike, obviously masks a lot of deficiencies on defense. And obviously Anthony Harris saw that last season in Minnesota where they just couldn't get home, and you're leaving that back end exposed. You can only cover for so long, and all of a sudden you're getting exploited in ways that you never envisioned that would happen because you look at what the season before that, and the secondary looked markedly different than it did last year. So, yeah, I think he's coming into a good situation where the Philadelphia pass rush is a lot more adept at getting after the quarterback and applying pressure than it was in his previous spot. So, it's certainly that'll certainly help.
Andrew, obviously they get the safety now. This is not a great spot to get a safety in this particular draft, at least in the first round. We know at number 6 they're not going to help themselves out there. You would imagine that they might still try to land one somewhere, but now corner is definitely squarely. They haven't been able to get one in free agency yet. You would think that corner is still something. If they don't get one at number 6, is the second round a spot that you have some eyes on guys to maybe help fill that spot, second, third round?
Yeah, I mean, I think that now that they got the safety spot ironed out, I mean, they're still going to have to add another young safety, to be honest with you, because they have 2 veteran safeties there, and Kayvon Wallace to me is nothing more than a third safety, a rotational piece, but they're maybe a Paris Ford or an Andre Sill from Syracuse or something like that in the 3rd and 4th round. But, yeah, in the second round, that seems to me like that'd be the ideal spot to take a corner, maybe one of the Georgia corners like an Eric Stokes or a Tyson Campbell or somebody of that mold, maybe an Elijah Molden who's more in the nickel mold of a Tyrann Mathieu type of player. But the Eagles have shown interest in another slot corner from the 49ers last week, so it kind of tells me that they have their eye on that position at least, and might consider moving Avonte Maddox to safety. So Elijah Molden's a guy who I think from Washington is a plug-and-play player at this, as a rookie. So, I mean, there's going to be some options there, and the second round has a ton of enticing options if you're looking to add a corner.
Good to know. Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And, one of the things that a lot of people keep asking me as we get closer, you're at number 6. A lot of quarterbacks look like they're going to go ahead of you. So is trading down the most practical decision for this team, or do you think that being at 6 is just too good to pass up at 4-11-1?
Well, it depends, because if quarterbacks go early, like as many quarterbacks go as early as we were expecting them to go, well, then the draft board is going to shake out quite favorably for the Philadelphia Eagles. However, if it doesn't go that way, you can only afford to trade down to, in my opinion, the 8th pick, because I think the Carolina Panthers would be a good match, knowing that they've tried to leave no stone unturned in replacing Teddy Bridgewater and upgrading the quarterback spot. So I think that they would have eyes on, the Zach Wilsons or Trey Lance, and I think that if you move down to 8, you could still get a guy like a Patrick Surtain, maybe a Jalen Waddle from Alabama. But then this draft is kind of unlike so many others, Mike, where there's a significant drop-off in talent once you get to 9 or 10 and down there, because then you're looking at guys like a Kwity Paye, who's a second or third edge rusher in this draft, and you're not necessarily looking at a blue chip type of player. So I think they can always afford to move down a couple of spots while still landing a premier talent.
I think you laid it out nicely, is if those quarterbacks start to go and it pushes people and you're at 6 and you can have your choice of Chase, Pitts, although it sounds like Pitts is, gaining steam in the other direction higher in this draft. But if you can get your choice of one of those 3 guys, I like what you just said, Andrew, 8, even maybe 9 if Penei Sewell and Pitts go and quarterback. If it's like quarterback, Sewell, and you're like, I can get one of these 4 guys, I think that's a great opportunity to move yourself back. We'll see, because realistically, how many teams do you think would be willing to trade into that spot? I mean, not only their spot, keep in mind the Miami spot at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a decent amount of teams that are jockeying to get into that spot that need to upgrade the quarterback. And you talk about guys like Zach Wilson and Trey Lance, and later on in the draft, you're going to have a guy like Mac Jones. So there's going to be teams that are going to look to upgrade that, and you see teams that have a little wiggle room, like the Eagles, like possibly the Miami Dolphins. So I do think that the first 8, 9 picks are going to be. There's going to be some shuffling there, some interesting picks, and a lot of teams, doing a little maneuvering. But like I said, I think that the most opportune spot would be looking at the Carolina Panthers at that 8th spot, knowing that, while they might not get Deshaun Watson, they might not be able to pry him away. I do think that they're going to be looking towards upgrading with either Trey Lance or Zach Wilson. So to me, that makes the most sense.
Okay, now, if the Eagles are blowing smoke up everybody's you-know-what and stay at 6 and there's a quarterback to be had, which quarterback is the best fit for the Eagles? Let's say they want to move up and get one. Is there a best fit for what they do?
Justin Fields. He's the guy that I can say outside of Trevor Lawrence is the only one that's decidedly better than Jalen Hurts in every facet. From a mechanical standpoint, from delivering the football with velocity, from processing, just being able to isolate and deliver the football, and just even in terms of ball placement, he has everything there. And I think if you're going to look at upgrading the quarterback spot, the only one that you can say would make the most sense would be Justin Fields. The other ones may have similar ceilings or even potentially higher ceilings than a Jalen Hurts, but they're far from a certainty. And I think that when you look at all the different question marks that come with taking a quarterback, nonetheless, in that type of spot, you need to be almost certain that it's going to work out, because the Eagles have a lot of holes on that roster that need to be addressed before you can go, playing musical chairs with your quarterbacks again, unless you're sure that guy's the answer.
All right. What about a position that not a lot of people talk about because they have Miles Sanders, but Boston Scott is, I guess, the other guy back there. They have a couple other guys that they have kind of, rolled through here, but we heard about them taking a bigger running back in drafts past. Is that something that you think they should have their eye on in this draft?
Yeah, I think they have to. Boston Scott was a nice role player down the stretch for the Eagles in 2019, and he had moments in 2020, but it was clearly evident that they thrust him into a role that he wasn't really suited for. He was miscast as a number 2 running back, and he's ideally a number 3, a complementary piece that gets a few touches a game. And he doesn't have the size or to be able to kind of withstand the rigors of a full slate of games as a number 2 running back. Miles Sanders played in 12 games last season, and it shuffled the roles a little bit more than what the Eagles envisioned. So you need to have a between the tackles power runner to really be able to open up the offense fully, especially when you're looking at a young quarterback like Jalen Hurts. You want to have that power running dimension in there to get those tough yards. You don't want Jalen to have to feel like he has to pick up all those yards with his legs. And Miles Sanders needs to stay healthy, and I think you need to have a 1-2 punch there, a thunder and lightning, so to speak. So I'm looking at guys like a Kylan Hill or a Jarrett Patterson from Buffalo or an Elijah Moore from Louisiana Lafayette. Those are just a few guys that I think that can be plugged into that offense and make an immediate impact.
All right, what's the earliest round you would target said running back?
Man, I would say probably round 4, even round 5. Probably round 4 is where you could get a a Jarrett Patterson from Buffalo. And then even further down, you can probably get an Elijah Moore in the 6th round. He was in a timeshare with 3 other running backs at Louisiana Lafayette, so there's very little tread on his tires, and he's a well-rounded guy. I believe he goes about 215, and he can catch the ball as well. So there's going to be some options. Lately, well, I should say, unless you're getting a guy like a Saquon Barkley or something, running backs are getting pushed down draft boards because teams aren't putting such a high precedent on taking one so early. So you're seeing a lot of talented guys that are going day 3, and then some of them are even going undrafted. So I do think there's going to be some opportunity there to upgrade it.
All right, defensive tackle, Fletcher Cox, and, of course, they lost Malik Jackson. They've got Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. Is that a position that they need to kind of target on draft day?
Yeah, and they really have to, Mike, because when you really look at it, you have Fletcher Cox, who's 30, still playing at a high level, but then you have Javon Hargrave, who's 28 years old. There's a lot of money tied to both of those guys, and by the time this rebuild is over, both of these guys might not be around. And then beyond them, you have your Hassan Ridgeway, who's been a very competent backup rotational player, but he's always been available for 14 games in 2 seasons. And then you have your T.Y. McGills and your Raekwon Williams, and I mean, those are 4th or 5th guys in a rotation. They don't offer a lot of upside. So I think that fortunately this year you can find a defensive tackle in the 3rd or 4th round who can be your 3rd tackle this year and or if not, and play some significant snaps. Looking at Davion Nixon from Iowa, look at Tommy Togiai from Ohio State, and I think you also look at Jalen Twyman from Pitt. Jalen Twyman and Dixon are more pass rushers, and Togiai is more of a traditional run stuffing space eater that takes up a lot of blockers and opens things up for his teammates to make plays on the football. But there's going to be an array of guys you can get and can plug in there that can make an impact. So I think you have to consider that in the 3rd or 4th round, which is nice because you don't have to kind of squander a premium draft pick on a defensive tackle this year.
All right, really good stuff on the draft. We're about a month away. And, of course, Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. We will take a look at some later round prospects. We'll start to dive into that a little bit because it seems at 6, everybody's got their favorite guy, whether it be if you're a Pitts guy, if you're a Chase guy, if you're a Waddle guy, if you're a Smith guy, if you want a quarterback, you like Penei Sewell if he's available. Those are the names you're going to hear. I don't know that there's really another name that we've kind of left out. Is there somebody else at 6 that we haven't really talked about that you think should be considered if they stay there?
No, I mean, like I said, you could even drop down to 8 now and get a guy like Patrick Surtain. I think taking him at 6 would be a little high, but other than that, I think that you've pretty much heard every configuration, every possible scenario. Yeah, I know you're a Micah Parsons guy, but so it'll be interesting to see. The Eagles haven't had that philosophy of taking a linebacker that high, certainly, but there's a new regime here, so who knows? It's not likely, but we'll see.
Last one for today with the draft is there a edge rushing defensive end in this first round that you would move back for? I'm assuming there's not one at 6.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a guy like Kwity Paye at 11 or 12 from Michigan, who I absolutely love. And he fits the Eagles mold. He kind of reminds me of a Brandon Graham type player. He's very strong at the point of attack. He can play all over the defensive line, so he has that versatility, and he has superhuman strength. And another guy with untapped potential as an edge rusher. So I do like what he brings to the table from a skill set perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, that's your answer right there. I would say 10 or 11, 12, he'd be a guy that's a target in that area.
Andrew DiCecco, everybody. DiCecco, NFL. Excellent draft conversation. More to come. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. I'm looking forward to the draft. We are about a month away from the NFL draft. Andrew, thanks, man.
My pleasure, Mike. Take care.
All right. And, of course, Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It drops Mondays and Thursdays in the offseason. They've got a full lineup of great football material at InsideTheBirds.com. Q&A with Jason Avant and Quentin Michael. Check that out. Andrew DiCecco does his Ask Andrew mailbag, his draft mailbag as well. And Football at 4 is brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. Everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ILoveLyleBack.com. Call 856-MAKEOVER. Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4.